Rodney?
You want to answer my question
Yes,
first?
sir.
Because you should know better.
I do now. I didn't when I got the job. I didn't have a clue what the job was about. As you know, my husband had just died and I needed a job. A couple of the county commissioners at that time suggested that I run because Judge Whitaker was retiring. So I did, not knowing what I was getting into. And my first term, I had, when I ran, I had 5 opponents. 3 elections in the first year to get the job. So thank you for electing me. I got the job. The second term, I had another opponent. Had to run again. My third term, I got to skate through. This time I've got 3. So you're well aware that I do want the job. I like my job now. Why do I like my job, Rodney? It's become my life. My family's gone. I don't have a husband. This job is my life. It's my way of living. It takes care of me. And in the JP job, I've got different hats that I wear. I'm not just a judge. I'm a magistrate. I'm the first judicial officer that a person sees when they're arrested. I set their bond. I'm a coroner. When there's a death, an unattended death, I'm called. I have to decide if I need to do an inquest, whether the county needs to pay for an autopsy. Those are all my decisions. And then I have the privilege of doing marriages, and I've done many, many marriages. I have one I'm going to do Friday. You know, I work diligently with the school district in keeping the kids in school, the truancy. And you know, we've all got, when I was first elected to office, Floyd Holt Richards would come to see me quite often and tell me the power that I had being a JP. Little did I know what power that we do have. But you can take that power, you can push somebody down or you can lift them up. And that's our choice. And every JP office is run differently. It's up to the individual JP. But in my office, I want to lift somebody up. I don't want to push them down. I'm not going to. These kids, another thing, Mr. Richards asked me, he said, what are you going to do with your, how are you going to handle your community service? And at the time, the JPs were letting adult probation handle their community service. And I said, well, I'm going to do it. And he said, well, you can only do so much. There's not enough hours in the day. And I thought about it, and I thought, I can do this. So I contracted with the TxDOT, and on the edge of the city limits, you may have noticed that I have adopted 2 miles of the highway. And that's for my high school students. They have to wear their orange vest and get out there and let their friends honk at them as they're picking up trash. And it's humiliating for them. I'm sitting out there watching and I'm herding them like cattle because I don't want to be out there either. But you know, given a choice to pick up trash and be humiliated or get up and go to school, you know which wins most of the time. During my term, the past 12 years, I introduced Mothers Against Meth to the community. I did that for 2 years, and most of you remember that. It was a big thing. We had 75 to 80 people every week coming to the meetings, learning about the meth and their kids. The past 2 years, I've introduced the Overcomers to the community. It's a 12-step recovery program for anybody. It's Christian-based. I work every week with the host program. And everything that I do, all of my outside activities, are to enhance my ability as being a JP. If it's not going to help me in the community to do my job, then I don't have time for it, if that makes sense. I think the next thing I'm going to tell you about is the most recent. Yesterday I got to meet, I went to Amarillo and met with State Representative John Smithy in Price Ford. As you're all aware, we had a tragedy a few years ago that involved one of our community members. Came out headline news in the paper that I had dismissed a citation, which I had not. I was furious over that. Came out in the Amarillo paper that morning, the Texan that afternoon. So I went down to the paper demanding where they got their information. And in the meantime, the county attorney, he put the papers on my desk to sign that it had been dismissed. And I had a choice. I could do as I was told, or I could fight it, knowing full well that I was going against the state of Texas. I chose to fight it. If I lost my job over it, then I didn't need this job. Because to me, the most important thing in this job is to see that your rights are protected, that justice is for everybody. So I made a big to-do about it, a big stink about it. A lot of things were written in the paper and on the news, but I stood by my beliefs. Eventually the ticket was dismissed, but not by me. It had to be dismissed because that was the law, but the law was wrong. I had to recuse myself from the case. But then I went to Representative John Smithy. And I said, look at this law. They didn't even read what they wrote. Which is, I don't think they did. And him and Price Ford, they changed it. Yesterday I had my picture taken with them, and it'll be in the paper. But I was willing to lose my job over that. And I will stand up for this community. I have stood up for you, and I will continue to stand up for you. There is a total of an average of 6,000 voters between Dalhart and Hartley County. I got these statistics from the school board and for the city council yesterday. The school board elections a year ago, out of those 6,000 registered voters, only 600 people showed up for the school board. How many of you, I know you have heard complaints about our school, but only 600 people showed up to vote. The city council election was a more contested election, but out of the 6,000 registered voters, 1,776 showed up. You know, our city council runs our town. And I know you've heard complaints about the city and how things are run. But if you don't exercise your right to vote, don't complain. You know me, you know what I stand for, you know why I'm here. So please, if you like what I do for you, get out and vote. Thank you.